Okay, well, it's 12 o'clock. We're gonna officially get going.
Rock
So,
and roll.
welcome everybody to the HGA free webinar series. We're so glad that you could be here, whether you're joining us live or you're gonna be watching this on recording. Your participation so valuable to us, means so much. If you're watching this and you have a comment, you have a question, please hit us at the bottom. Question chat's open. If you're seeing this on the recording, please give us a comment. If you agree, disagree, if you have any feedback you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it and to do that. My name is Jason Ledlow, Trevor Nelson. We have a very, very special guest today, Lisa Kirksey. Lisa comes to us from MDA. She runs events nationwide for muscular dystrophy
Big
and
events.
has a tremendous amount of experience. How long have you been with MDA, Lisa?
Right at 10 years.
10
Awesome.
years. Yeah. So, tremendous amount of experience doing a lot of events. Some of you out there, you only got one. So Lisa runs a bunch. And what we're talking about today is really as you're coming into your event and you're getting ready to, your 2 months, 1 month, 2 weeks, a week, the day of, sticking to your plan. Here in just recent history, just in the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Trevor and I have had a couple of clients, and they've talked to us about it after the fact, after the event, where they deviated from the plan, kind of at the last minute, and for reasons really that, things happen. We get
Still
it.
don't know why sometimes.
But they would deviate from the plan, and it cost them, and they know it. And so they're coming back going, what could we have done different? What could we have done? And we're sitting here going, well, stick to the plan. What we're seeing is if you had a plan, you had everything done, you had your timeline, you had your, your fundraisers, all your things, but somebody somewhere, they had a flat, basically it's like you're driving across country. You've got the map, I know we don't use maps anymore, but you have the map. Just imagine this is the old days and you have the map laid out. And you've got your trail and you've got somebody over there navigating for you and you're watching the map and you have a flat tire. Well, you don't change the whole trip and, instead of going straight across I-40, you decide to go south down through, down to South Texas and go along you don't do that.
Yeah.
You just fix the tire and stick to the plan.
Carry on. Yeah.
And so that's why we wanted to have Lisa just talk about how maybe, and I've got a couple of things where we've deviated from the plan or, and it's happened, and we wanted Lisa to come on and share with that. So Lisa, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So my
Awesome.
first question is does MDA ever do an event that you don't have a plan?
Oh no, we've never done an event that we only have a plan A for. So we'll have plan A, B, and C. And I think it's just what you were talking about, Jason, with the flat tire. We are all in this crazy event business because we do not desire a boring job. So we know that things are going to come up day of, and hopefully those things are like a table is wanting to switch locations, or we have different guests come in. But the reason that we can deal with those minimal changes is because we have planned to the nth degree every detail about the event. So we feel confident in that. We know our script, we know our timeline, we know our exact auction items, so that when those other little things do come up, we can deal with that, knowing the main portions of the event are still on track. And kind of, it's not a well-oiled machine ever really, but we kind of know that the big components are taken care of. The big components are things that drive money. So those they're kind of set in stone, to be honest, so that all of those things that do pop up day of, we have the capacity to be flexible around those.
Awesome.
It inevitably happens.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So, given that you have a plan, so give us an idea, just share with us where, the train went off the tracks, you had the flat tire, maybe your committee was trying to throw you some curveballs and trying to get off track because, pretty much everybody that listens to this is a paid professional. Not everybody. There's a lot of volunteers and
Sure.
People who are in committees. And so we're speaking to them as well because we know that they're just as invested in their organizations. But really, I'm talking about, when you're managing the event and all of a sudden something goes sideways and the peanut gallery, so to speak, all of a sudden wants to jump in. So why don't you kind of address that, if you would, how you guys handle it?
Yeah, Absolutely. I'll actually give you an example that's almost like a good curveball that was thrown in our direction, yet we still stuck to the plan. So we do our events in large part are run by committees. So there is quite a large peanut gallery that all have valid and valued opinions about the events, especially when they are really integral parts of that community. So 2 years ago, we were working on a gala in Georgia, and everything the week before the event is set in stone. Like your presentation is done, your printing is done, posters, scripting, everything. So I think it was maybe day before the event, because we were already like on location. Our chair came up and shared that they got this awesome live auction item secured. Like, great. Okay. That's amazing. It's a stay at this mountain house, whatever. So it was an amazing get. Truly, it would have helped us in the end raise money, but we just knew at that point, like, the printing would be wrong if we added it into the program. The program would be wrong. We would have to re-script people, which would probably result in errors. And that's just not the way we wanted to represent ourselves, especially if there's people learning about our organization for the very first time. So, she was pumped because she was thinking, we're going to be able to add another at least $10,000 to our live auction. And it was a hard discussion to have like, that is amazing. That is 1,000% going on our live auction next year. But this year, I really think we're in a really great place. We've got 4 live auction items. We don't want to take any of those away because we've also been promoting them through our emails, getting people prepared on what they're going to spend on. So if they were coming expecting a Tuscany trip to bid on, and then we last minute replaced it with a mountain house, they may not be willing and ready to spend at that point. So that's what we did. We talked to her after the event, got it. It was auctioned off this year at that same gala, but it's just saying, like, good things pop up, but ultimately you still want to stick to the plan so that you can feel confident going into the program. No last minute changes that could throw off just basically your confidence and the smoothness of the day.
Yeah.
You said
hear that, even if that means something that could be profitable, you got to be patient. It's like,
yeah.
Well,
something that you just said, I think is really, and I think everybody here who's watching now or listening to this at any point in time can understand this. That feeling of confidence can be eroded like that. You go into it, you wake up that morning, you're feeling good, everything's going, got everything checked, I feel like I'm caught up, and then all of a sudden a curveball gets thrown at your head and you're just like, oh gosh,
it could be demoralizing for the whole crew.
And so, and it filters down through the entire organization. And the reason I say this, and my point to where I'm going with this is, like you said, because those are going to come. You're not going to stop those, but don't throw a curveball at your own head. I know it sounds impossible, but I've seen it happen. And I've seen, like you said, where somebody goes, well, it's just too good to pass up. We've got to do it. No, our deadline was 10 days ago. Our printing's done. Everything's done. We're going to stick to the plan. And we're going to keep working, and we're going to just keep going forward. So, you can't stop some of those things, but boy, you can sure step in some stuff that you don't want to be stepping in of your own free will. And I mean, and so I think that's caution. Do you have, so I've got, this is going to kind of turn into timeline, and I think it works going. I think it'll kind of bring in where I see a lot of plans get really messed up in the last 48 hours of an event, and deviations happen. So, a couple of years ago, I was doing an event. I was still doing, this was in fact, this was the last time I did this event. And they did ask me back. So I do want to make that clear. I was asked back. I didn't screw it up that bad, but this was on me. This is totally on me. Guy's been doing this for 30 years, knows better. Okay. But they listened to the stinking auctioneer, who was me, make a suggestion at the last minute. So we have this guest the guest speaker gives this most incredible, passionate, emotionally charged, speech, basically presentation. We're all crying. There's not a dry eye in the room, myself included. And I tell the executive director, let me go up right now and raise some money. Let me go up right now and do the fund to need.
And that deviated.
Are you sure? Yeah. Let's just go do it right now. Well, okay, we trust you. Okay. My point to this is we still raised a lot of money. I don't think it mattered at all. I don't think it took anything away from it, but it did throw the timing off, because we were supposed to do the auction, the presentation of the auction. We were going to have a mission moment and then do the fund to need. And I threw it all out of whack. Me, Jason, I did it. Okay. And what they should have said was, because emotion took over, and this is my point to everything I'm saying, my emotion got best of me. And instead of them and everybody else, and instead of them going, no, Jason, we are going to stick to the plan. Thank you. Maybe we can do that next year.
You're a hard guy to say no to, though. So.
Well, I know, and that's part of the thing, and that's why you got to really stick to it. Because if they'd have said, no, Jason, we're going to stick to the plan, because Trevor knows Jan, and she's very powerful. For about a 5'2", weighs about 95 pounds. She is a lion.
But she trusts you. She trusts you.
But my
even
point
in those
is
circumstances, your illustration is still the same. It's just,
don't let emotions of the moment take over. Like I said, it wasn't necessarily detrimental to the event, but it did throw things off a little bit.
Yeah.
And back to what Lisa said, we've got people here. We've said this is what we're going to do. We've got this timing. We got the flow. Let's not do anything. Let's not self-sabotage anything.
Yeah.
And so the emotional part happens all the time.
Yeah.
You get a, committee chair.
Yep.
Committee chair comes in and starts going, I don't know, this is going to happen. We've got, the Smiths are next to the Johnsons. I don't think that's a good idea. We've got to move their table, some kind of thing like that. And they get very emotional about it. And I think, what you said, Lisa, is really about, we were talking about this actually before we started, that, you're the fundraising professional, and it's okay to tell your volunteers, to tell your committee, to tell them, say, hey, look, it's going to be okay. We'll fade the heat on that deal.
Yeah.
You just go and have a great time. You've done the work. This is your time to shine. We're going to take care of the details, and we'll fade the heat for you, so to speak. So I don't know, Lisa, can you speak some more to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you were speaking, I think about all of those things you were talking about, part of being able to work your plan in the chaos leading up to an event is doing your homework. So that means knowing your crowd. I was thinking of an example as you were speaking, Jason, where at one of our biggest events, our auctioneer also got caught up in the emotion of the night. The room was full. It was just, there was a lot of energy there, a lot of emotion as well. And at the last minute, they wanted to change our giving levels of what people could donate, because he thought that we could get one higher than we were originally starting with. But we had done our homework well enough to know, we're already pushing them slightly with these donation levels. We increased slightly from last year. Even if it's going up from a mission give level of 2,500, you increase that to 3,000. It's people might raise their paddle, but you don't want to increase it more. So anyways, we knew our homework. We know what people gave consistently. And we were just we just cannot do it. And in the end, we really, really feel like it was the right choice to not go with his suggestion that day. But it's doing your homework. It's knowing the room. It's knowing the people, how much they can spend, what their energy is like. But also part of your homework is building your confidence in your committee that you are an event professional in the months leading up to the event. So you have to prove to them, I know how to do this. I can be successful. That's by showing up to your meetings prepared, having all the benchmarks that you want them to reach in the months leading up, and, being side by side with them on meetings or whatever, kind of just proving yourself as an event professional. So that day when they do pop up and they are kind of emotional, because this is not what they're trained to do. It's not their skills. It's our skills. When we say, I really want you to trust me. I believe in what we're doing right now. I believe this is the best course of action. We talked about it in the months leading up to it. I really need you to trust that the plan we built is going to work, that they say, you know what? I have a reason to trust her. I have a reason to trust him. and I feel better now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think even if you're just doing 1 or 2 events a year,
yeah,
you know, when you're it's on you, and there's a lot of you out there that's all you do is a couple of events a year, maybe even one big one. You know, you got one big gala and you've put all this effort into it. But to Lisa's point, you are the professional, and just by reminding people, I think to do that, to say, hey, listen, I hear what you're saying, and I don't take it lightly. I think it's really good input. But we've been down this, you know, we've come this far. Here we are. We're at D-Day. We can't change the mission now, because if we don't go now, we're gonna pass our opportunity. And so, and I think small deviations, like I was just talking about with that I did, you know, where I just wanted to flip one little simple thing, but it's not so simple. Okay, when you've got everything
Domino
planned
effect.
out.
Yeah.
Slide presentation, you know, your team, they know what to come next, the software, because they're setting up for the giving levels, all those things, you've got to stick with the plan and stay with that course. Your plan may not be, and you may not have a plan A, B, and C like Lisa does. Maybe it's not as detailed and as granular as somebody who does multiple events throughout the year, who, you know, been doing it for 10 years, who's got a team around her that, you know, does all these things. You may not have all those resources that she does, but if you've just have a plan, and whatever that may be, stick to it. And I think, you know, and I know Trevor's got something to add, because we see the chaos every day. Every day we get somebody calling us to say, you know, or one of our team, or one of the auctioneers we know, and they go, oh my gosh, they changed this and they tried to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not what they did, it's just that they changed anything at the last moment.
Yeah.
Through that.
What was the impetus for this conversation? We were talking earlier, you know, someone reads something in the paper or hears something in the news and they go, oh, you know what? I'm questioning everything about the room now, and we have to change. And we had an organization change some big pieces of their event that they were depending on obviously for the funds. And they changed it the afternoon of the evening event, you know, and I was a little perplexed by it, not angry or emotional about it, just kind of like a head scratcher. Right. And if we've had this conversation, you know, we've had it 1,000 times. Jason and I speak ad nauseum about sometimes you just have to have a difficult conversation with folks when you're in the position where you're the fundraising professional, regardless of how many events you do, regardless if it's committee or volunteer driven or all the above. But what's fascinating to me about the psychology of it, and I'm not trying to make it more serious sounding than it really is, but Lisa, you've given a couple examples, like real life examples, and you've been doing this for a number of years now. And I'm sure that the way you speak to people that come to you with these crazy ideas or good ideas, whatever, it's changed and you've gotten better at it. You're really, really good at it. And the way you just explained it was really, really eloquent. But we're constantly telling folks, it's like a little bit of that tension is okay. Sometimes there's going to be a little pushback. Mm-hmm. But how do you, and I'm trying to figure out the right way to word this. When you start working with the committee early, you set the tone without saying like, I'm in charge, right? There is a way to go about it where you make them feel like we're all here to work together. Okay. But I get the impression, at least I know how y'all operate, where you put certain metrics and expectations in place and you communicate those early, right? And they actually do, you know, they're there to support you and the event, right? Because you're leading the charge. But you do have to have these difficult conversations. So just talk to us about that and your experience with that. It's like, I set the tone early. I set the expectations early. Sure, someone's going to inevitably come to me with a change the day of, the week out, or what have you. But you've had so many of these conversations, you're like, hey, I need you to trust me. But that doesn't happen overnight, like you said. But I'm just assuming you put these things in place where people really, really understand. It's like, I need your help. You know, that's why you're here. Mm-hmm. But we're going to stick to the plan. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, that's definitely true. Because yes, so the way that or not even everyone at MDA has the same approach, but the way that I have found success in that with my committees is I am perhaps overly transparent with them, first of all. That is how I build strong relationships. Yeah. And part of that is in the very beginning of a committee, you know, say your kickoff or something, you you do just kind of talk over like the roles of the group, the roles that you have, the roles that they have. And I come at this and say, like, together, we're going to do something really amazing. What I do day in and day out is work in different communities to bring events to that space to make a difference in the mission of Muscular Dystrophy Association, engage the members of that community in our mission so that we together can make a big difference. I am not asking you to come here and pick out napkin colors and tablecloths. You know, that's the stuff that I am hired to do behind the scenes, manage the stress of the event. What I cannot do and what is invaluable that you bring is the connections that you have in this committee. So you and I are going to work together. You are going to help introduce me to people in this community that are, you know, game changers that can come and make a big difference the night of. And our committee, or I'm sorry, at the event, you know, donation wise, sponsorship wise, they're going to come, they're going to make a big impact on our mission. You are the connection piece to the community for me. I handle all the headache behind the scenes. I don't want you to be worried about that. You know, free yourself of that. Kind of like what you were saying, Trevor, like you've put the work in months before. I want you to come and enjoy the day. And a lot, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, can I come help volunteer? Can I do this? Can I do that? And honestly, most of the times we don't even really accept that.
Yeah.
We'll just say, like, go home, relax. If you want to come and see the room ahead of time so that you can kind of just get a view of it, do that. But we really don't involve them in those granular decisions. Now, in that planning process ahead of time, just like you were saying, benchmarks wise, we do keep them very updated on, like, you know, you all together set a goal to raise $200,000 at this event. What we need to do to get there is raise, you know, a solid portion of that in sponsorship. So we'll keep them updated through the months leading up to it and where we stand and, you know, how much we've raised. And I mean, I do think those details of the process are very, very, very important. And that is one of the things, like continuing to update them, sticking to the benchmarks. That is one of those things that builds their trust in you. They almost see, like, you are holding me accountable. You are running this almost like a business, you know, like we are. We're a one-day business.
People should.
At the event.
People should. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're constantly imploring people to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it builds their trust in you because they see that you're taking it seriously. And I mean, we do know what we're doing.
No question. Well, you said you're very transparent. To me, it sounds like you're communicating.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like everyone knows where everyone stands. And we just think it's so important, regardless of how big or how small your organization, or like Jay said, you run 2 events a year, 1 event a year, what have you, the fundamentals that you're talking about and these benchmarks and metrics and communicating, or I don't care if people call it over communicating, it's important because it mitigates all these issues. And, you know, big picture, all of these issues that we're talking about, like we said, the impetus for this conversation and talking to people about why this is important. The issues that arise end up being A, you scare off donors, right? B, you don't raise as much money as you intended. Like, that's the consequence. And that's a big deal, you know? So this is serious, you know, and we thought it was serious enough to talk about. So, you know, it's just.
Well, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And something along those lines is, you know, you talked about it before, Trevor, you're establishing the pecking order basically. And we're doing it in a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're telling them, this is what your job is.
Yeah.
Not okay. Well, because you get a committee around sitting around. I've been in enough of them to know they'll start talking about stuff that doesn't raise money faster than you can shake a stick. Snap your fingers.
I have a silly question, Lisa. Do you give them like a job description printed out or anything like that?
We have an expectation sheet, a committee expectation, and it's like what our commitment is to you. You know, we're committed to doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And then what our hope is from you. And, you know, a lot of times, yes, Jason, we can go off on an hour-long tangent about the band, you know, or whatever. And, you know, we will bring it back in so quick and say, like, those conversations are fun. Those are great pieces of the event. But if nobody is there to enjoy the band, it doesn't matter. So we've got to fill the tables, and that's where you all come in. That's where you can really help me. But yes, we do have an expectation sheet that we send out, and we customize that based on the amount we want to raise. So if we want to raise $200,000 and we know that, I mean, let's say $125,000 of that needs to come in sponsorship, we break it down to the level of like, okay, well, we have 7 committee members. So on that expectation sheet, we are hoping that each committee member can at least sell 5 tables for us, because that's what we've all agreed we want to do. We want to make a big impact together, but you know, you need to know ahead of time what really goes into making that happen. So, you know, if you're going to be on the committee, we really, really are going to help you to get at least 5 tables sold, because if all of you in that room do that, our $125,000 is raised right there.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Early and often.
Well,
I call it.
you know,
I think it's great.
Giving them, and if you keep them busy and they stay on that, they're not going to have time to go off and start thinking about napkin colors and stuff like that, because they know they got to do it. And I think, you know, having the plan for the committee, you know, and sticking to the plan.
Yep.
Your example is perfectly about sticking to the plan, because when you stick to the plan, chaos cannot come in. Chaos only comes in where the absence of plan, absence of leadership.
Yeah.
And that's whenever, you know, chaos is whenever, because Trevor and I deal with this, you know, we're very, you know, we talked about tension yesterday in a podcast. There's tension because that means there's friction, there's growth. That means good things are happening. And we're not trying to eliminate that, because you can't take that away.
Yeah.
But sticking to the plan to say, we're going to serve dinner at 7:15. Dinner's going to start at 7:15. Our program starts at 7:30. Okay. Just because there's a snag back there somewhere and something happens and they got delayed by 7 minutes because the potatoes weren't ready, doesn't mean that you don't start the program at 7:30. You still start everything. Just because this part of the plan breaks doesn't mean everything goes up. Am I wrong on that, Lindsay, as far what you do, Lindsay? Lisa?
No, you're not. I think there are very certain components of our evening that our mission drive, for example, like that's one part of the evening where we need all eyes focused on the room, on the screens or on the speaker, because that, you know, like you were talking about, that's where you get people bought into your mission. That is something I feel like that we will work around. We would stop dinner service. We would, if that was going on as normal, we would say, we need you to stop. We don't need disruptions right now, or we will let you know when you can come back out and start serving. Because so there are a few times during the evening where like we will adjust the plan, and it is because we need people keyed in. It's because it's focused on money. Anything that is a revenue driver, we will work around that because it's important to us. But yeah, we may still start dinner at the exact same time, and then if we have to pause in dinner service to make sure we have the room's attention, then we will do that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think something that you just said is so critical.
Yeah, that's not deviation. That's focus.
This is a fundraiser. We are here to raise money.
Yep.
And
so true.
Making adjustments. I'm going to say an adjustment, you know, like you said, we have a flat tire. We're going to fix the tire, but we're still going to raise money because this is what we're here for. We're not here so, you know, Jason can get up and give his 30-second speech. You know, that's why we have him at 30 seconds, because it's
Trevor
not
can
about
dance
that.
with the band.
Yeah. and we are here to raise money, and keeping those things, those pieces, those things at the forefront are so critical. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because I do think that's something that we get caught up in.
I'm going to do a call for questions.
Do that.
I hope everyone understands that's on right now, that we have one of the most prolific fundraisers in the nation. At one of
she raises
a lot of money. So please don't be shy. And you're not deviating from the plan.
Yeah, and if it's a question about something else and you've got something else on your mind, don't, you know, we want to hear, because it all ties back together.
Yeah, so do us a favor, call for questions if you have any. And if anyone's watching this as a recording on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment with your question if you have any. We'll definitely get to it. So yeah, please, anybody, if you have any questions about anything that you're doing.
Well, while you're thinking about those questions, I'm going to ask Lisa a question.
Yeah, do it.
biggest train wreck. 10 years.
Oh
Biggest
gosh.
train
Oh
wreck.
my gosh.
Give us one that
Sorry,
were just,
sorry. I didn't know he was.
I
gonna do
mean,
that, Lisa. Sorry.
the bridge blew out, and what did you do?
All
Well,
4 tires went flat. All 4.
You know what? Sometimes I will tell you one that we had within the last year, and sometimes train wrecks are unavoidable, and unfortunately, in golf tournaments, those train wrecks are often weather.
Yes.
I mean, I had 2 weather-related ones that are giving me PTSD right now to even talk about. Anyways, in all of my 10 years at MDA, I need to knock on wood, knock on all the things right now. I have never had rain at an event ever until this year. It was my unlucky year. I think I was just due. We have a huge golf tournament down in South Florida, which, that is just a weather case in and of itself. And right in the middle of the round of golf, the course was closed. And that majorly impacts your plan. We plan for 4.5 hours for them to be out there. They're going to come back. We're going to have cocktail hour. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have the fun to need. And that did require a major shift because we had 200 plus people coming off the course and we were not prepared for that. So that just took like instant communication with the entire venue. We need this moved up. We need this moved up. We also just had to communicate honestly with everyone there, like, hey guys, the kitchen is working as quick as they can to get everything out. Please come in. The bars are open. That's one thing that we made sure we did. Like, if nothing else happens, open the bar so people can come in and have a good time. And because of that, some people did end up leaving earlier. But we still went in. Everything did have to move up because we did not have 2 hours to sit there and entertain people. Everyone would have left. So we moved up the program. We went forward. We still did everything the exact same way, regardless if there was, a quarter of the room gone. So that was one train wreck. The second one was just a couple of weeks ago. We had a gala planned down in Savannah, Georgia. And the week leading up to it, it was the most recent, hurricane that had come through, and the weather was looking bad for Savannah. It was a day 2 or 3 before the event, and we had to make the decision to move it. So, you all know, like, if you are working on an event with all of the vendors that you are working with and all of the coordination that has gone to it, guests, they've already received their email, like what to expect. Here's where to park. Come in here. The event's in 2 days, and we had to move it to 2 weeks later. And that just took a lot of communication effort, reaching out to people. But we thought the hurricane didn't end up being as damaging as we thought, praise God, but we thought it would be insensitive and not taking our guests into consideration to continue moving forward with it when they were preoccupied with the fear of their house and the fear of their city.
Oh, sure.
So we had to be flexible at that point. Then we moved forward and everything is kind of pick it up and move. The same plan went fully executed 2 weeks later. But those are 2 big things where major timelines were shifted as far as either time of day or time of month. But the plan that we had made originally, it's just pick it up and move it.
Yep, there you go. Yeah. Thank you.
Question here, Lisa. So Ken asked.
I like
this,
Ken's
goes,
question
Lisa,
because we'd all like.
He
to have
said,
a crack
Lisa,
at this.
you talked about knowing connections and with your committees.
Yeah.
He goes, what if the people you're working with say we don't know people with resources? How do we find them?
We all want to crack at this one. Sorry.
So when we are building committees, I mean, that's at the forefront of our conversation. So we build committees with people that we feel confident do have the resources. If you already kind of have a committee in place and they're connected to your mission and they want to do something, and they just don't quite know the right people to make it happen, I mean, that comes down to a major brainstorming. You find the people that are connected with your mission in the city, do your homework on them. I don't know if you have software where you can do like wealth screenings and things like that. But I mean, we do, if we are building a committee from square one, we do a ton of research on the front end. Sometimes it only takes one person getting on your committee that is resourced or well connected that can then bring in a few other people. So I'm coming up with a scenario here because Ken, I don't know exactly what the situation is, but if you have a group of people that are passionate about your mission, they want to start an event in the community, but none of them are resourced or they don't have connections that are resources, I would not start planning the event, to be honest, without having a few of those key people in place. And maybe the way to do that is to hold a small event with very, very little expenses where you try to get some people in the room, simply connect them to your mission, have a family speak or someone to share a story that has been impacted by your mission, and then try to get committee members from there. But that's a little bit of a smaller way to do it, maybe without as much of an investment on the front end, but you hopefully can just start getting the right people in the room. But we've been in a place before where we've been working on a gala. There's some people in a community that really want to do something, and we're kind of moving forward with it. And we get to a point and, we won't sign a contract at a venue or anything like that unless we truly feel like we can probably bring in like $75,000 or, our half of our goal, I guess, in sponsorship. And if you get to a point where you really don't think that you can achieve that, we move it to the next year, or we change our plan at that point. If we just don't think it's going to be a profitable event, we have to be good stewards of our income and,
No, I think it's great.
Yeah,
You're talking about being patient as well, it
Yeah.
sounds like. And it sounds
Ken-
like it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Ken, I want to tell you, I've worked with committees and groups for a long time. And what I realized is if you ask the question, and there's somebody here who's on this call who's seen this, I've done this with her before, Bev, so you can attest to this. They'll sit in a room and you go, hey, who do we know? And everybody kind of looks at each other and they go, I don't know. I don't know anybody. I can't think of anybody. This right here, most powerful fundraising tool. And we'll pull the phone out. I said, pull your phones out, go to the A's.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you, when you see somebody's name on here, that and you see somebody's name, I just want you to call the name out. If you think that they might have a reason, that they might be interested in or connecting into our mission, I want you to just give me the name. We go around the room.
Any
and
other
they start
criteria?
going through the A's.
Any other criteria?
No, all I do is I just want to know if they're connected, we think that they might have a connection to our mission. And we start getting names and we go through the A's and the B's and we're going around the room. Trevor, haven't got any names from you. Hey, Ken, I need some more names from you. I know you've got some names. And they start giving names and they start pulling this stuff out and we just start lining them up. We did this, I did this with the Beverly's committee. That's why I can say this. And she knows. And have done this multiple times, but you go down that list and then you start going back through the names and you go, okay, can Amy write a check for $10,000 and not miss it? Nope. Can she fill a table with 10 people that do have resources? Yes, she can. Okay. So she knows people. Does she have any special access? No, not really. Okay. So we go to the next one. Bob. Can Bob write a check for $10,000 and not miss it? Yes, he can. Can Bob fill a table with, 10 people that could come to an event? Yeah, he could. Does he have special access? His sister's an astronaut. Yeah, I'd say that's special access. Okay. You will be amazed with a group who think that they have no connections, none, that you will pull within just 30 minutes, maybe an hour doing this exercise.
Yep.
You will generate 4, 5, 6, $1 million in potential, not in raised money, but in potential in a very short matter of time. Because I've been doing this. Everybody always sits there and they go, well, I wish I could know Harold Hamm. Harold Hamm's a billionaire, lives here in Oklahoma. Okay. Everybody wishes they could get, I'm like, well, do you have him in his phone? Can you send him a call? Can you make a phone call or text him? Because we just don't think about people like, what can they, and we're thinking about, well, I don't know anybody who's got resources because I don't know a billionaire. Well, guess what? There's not that many
I
billionaires.
don't know a lot of billionaires either. So
They don't even have to be but there are a lot of people that have access,
Yeah.
connections, and we all have them. We just don't realize until we start extracting them. So I hope that's something that you could do, Ken, because that's a way that you can do with people that you have. And that may lead to where you get that person who can write a check for $10,000, or $50,000, not miss it. And they are very well connected, and they're going to come and, be your committee chair and help you be that driver that Lisa's talking about. But I wouldn't discount the resources you already have.
Yep.
But,
another thing that
it's not what you know, it's who you know. And everybody knows
so
somebody.
True. And Jason, I'm glad that you kind of went into that visual, because something else, just in talking about doing your homework, if you give like a broad question like that, like, yeah, your committee may say like, we don't know people with resources, but if you come to them and say like, these are my top 10 businesses I want engaged in this gala or this event, because, it's this builder and he's building everything in town, or it's this and that. Sometimes you have to give them parameters. Because, if it's that broad of who do you know that can write $10,000, that their brain is just going to be swimming. But if you say like, do we know anybody at these top 10 employers? Yes.
Yeah.
At, this builder, maybe they're not the decision maker, but I bet you they could introduce you to the decision maker. So it's, giving specific businesses to be focused on, because chances are, like, if you have a group of 10 people and there's 10 major companies in your organization, those people are going to know someone that works at each and every single one.
Yep. They sure are. And it's the power of the connection. And, and maybe I don't know Harold Ham, but Trevor does. And I get a hold of Trevor, and I said, Trevor, look, we've got this deal coming up. Is there any way you get Harold involved? That's how it is. It's about who you know. Yeah. And, to give you an example, and you've got to put things in perspective. So I want to tell you, there's a nonprofit. I was sitting there with the two founders of this nonprofit, and they needed to raise $100,000 in about 30 days. Maybe it was 60 days, I guess they had to raise $100,000 because they had a match. They had a match sitting there, and they hadn't executed on it.
Yep.
And so we sat down, and I said, okay, what does it take to fund your mission for one person for 1 year? It's $4,000 is what the number was. I said, okay. All right. So let's start, pull your phones out. Let's start I just want to know names. Forget about what they can do. We're not doing that. Let's just, because we had kind of done our homework. We went through, and then I started saying, okay, start just giving me names. We wrote down names for 30 minutes, 2 guys going through their phone, literally just, John Smith, Mary Sue, out, and then I went back down, I said, okay, can John Smith write a check for $4,000 and not miss it? Yes, he can. Can Mary Sue write a check for $4,000 and not miss it? Yes, she can. Can Jason Ledlow write a check for $4,000 and not miss it? No, probably not. Okay, we're just going to leave him here. And we went down that list, and in 30 minutes, we identified $400,000 of potential giving. And I said, okay, here's your deal. You got to call these guys. Yep. This is how many people we're going to call. And you're going to call, you're going to tell them the mission. We kind of went through and put everything together. But they went from not thinking they could, we didn't know who to call.
Yeah.
They didn't call anyone. They did not get $1 from somebody that they didn't already have in their phone. They raised $100,000. They got a $100,000 match. And again, it all came from stuff they already had.
There's more there than you think.
There's so much more there. Everybody has so many more connections than they realize. But if you're asked to think about it and just pull it up,
yep,
you're not going to get there. And so you got to start from somewhere. And maybe the question that you're asked when you're trying to get them connected, maybe you don't even go down the deal for $10,000. Maybe it's just, can they write a check for $5,000 and not miss it?
Cool. Yeah. 2 things. 1, more questions. Ken, I hope that helped. Also, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and volunteer Jason's time to do the people exercise with you, Ken. Go to hjfundraising.com, click on free coaching. We give our time away for free on a regular basis, week in and week out, and we're happy to do that with you. If you need to get a little more detailed on how to do that, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, definitely happy.
Jason or myself, okay? And that goes for everyone listening as well. Lisa, have you had to like literally draw? I know you all get very specific about who's going to be on the committee. It's very detailed. You do your research, but have you had to do things like basically draw someone a map or draw the committee a map about like, this is what we need to do. We don't have enough tables. We don't have enough sponsorships, and kind of do something similar to what Jason calls the people exercise. What, have you really had to like nudge folks and, like I said, draw them a map. It's like, this is what we need to do. We need you to get on the phone. That kind of thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And that comes in. So we have monthly committee meetings where everybody comes together. There's camaraderie. There's, just that energy going. But we have one-on-one conversations, maybe monthly or bi-monthly, with our committee members as well. And that's where we really like dial in. Like, we will go into their network, their sphere of influence individually with them, because another part of it, inevitably we all have tables that are donated back. We'll sponsor it, can attend. Well, we want those seats filled with people that can come and make an impact on our mission that night, whether that be by making a donation or they are potential committee member. So I feel like that's an inevitable question that we have all throughout the process, really. So in the beginning, yes, if we're seeing that we're not hitting those benchmarks that we've met, we have benchmarks starting out like 6 months out where we want to be with sponsorship dollars. If we're trending below that, yes, we have that very transparent conversation of like, hey guys, this is all awesome. We are planning an amazing event. We've got the mission pieces in place. But again, none of that makes a difference if there are not people in the room that are able to, that we want to engage in our mission. So, if we're looking low on sponsorship, we're not quite hitting our benchmarks, we'll start having those conversations. And sometimes we do it in a big setting, especially if we can get in person and it's not virtual. We'll kind of we'll even stick up the old school, like big pad and just like start writing businesses down. But a lot of times in those one-on-one conversations, I'm saying like, kind of just like what you were doing, okay, who are you talking with that you think maybe could purchase a table? Even, if some people, if they're not necessarily corporately connected and their connections are more social, it's like, yeah, let's fill a table with ticket sales. Those people are still very, valuable to the mission, valuable to the event. So it's having those one-on-one conversations with committee members, knowing their sphere of influence and how you can maximize that for the event. And like, we're their coaches. We are coaching them through this, having to really like teach them a lot of times, if they've never sat on multiple committees, like how you really do this. And we one of the commitments we make to our committee members is we come forth with the resources that can make this as easy as possible for you. Some people want to give us the entire list of people and they want us to reach out on their behalf. We're happy to do that. We draft emails for people, so all they have to do is copy and paste. It expresses our mission, because that's our job to share our mission, not theirs. But if it can just come from their email address and they copy and paste what we send, that's incredibly helpful for them. So yeah, definitely. Like I even think I have a section on my committee agendas that's like roadmap to success, like roadmap to our goal, and we map it out.
I hope everyone heard that Lisa said 6 months out. You're going over these benchmarks. So the best fundraisers that we know are going over these numbers and these benchmarks and communicating these things 6 months out from the event, not 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Not 8 weeks, not 3 weeks, 6 months out. I hope everyone heard that.
Well, and I think, but don't let that. I want to just say, don't let that frighten you.
No.
Especially because we know that a lot of you guys are, this isn't your only, you're the development director, but you got 5 other things that you're doing within your organization, because, you're not a big national organization, you're small. Yeah. And so, but even if it's 6 weeks, use 6 weeks, start, communicating. I think that's her point, Lisa's point. You should communicate this stuff all the way through, letting people know where we're at, how we're doing, what's going on. Because otherwise, they don't know. And so they just start assuming, well, it must be okay. We must be right. We must be, I haven't heard it otherwise, because we must be hitting our numbers.
Right. Yep.
And the other thing that I want to just share with you, and I think this is, when we're talking about committees and boards and people, volunteers and things like that, this is not their sole purpose in life. This isn't their only job.
Yep.
This isn't the only thing they've got going on.
Yep.
They've got, 3 kids, 2 of them in diapers. They're halfway sleep deprived because the youngest one's cutting teeth, and, work's been really rough, they've had, some people are out, and so they're having to work extra, and they're trying to work from home at the same time, but they want to be on with what you're doing. And it's not that they don't care. It's just they got other stuff going on.
Yep. So
And
make it as
so
easy as possible.
you've got to be willing, to do that, to communicate, to let them know what's going on, to stay in touch with them, to give them that update and encouragement,
Agreed.
and let them know that you need them. Because
Agreed.
even though they've got 3 kids, 2 in diapers, one's going through teething, they care about what your mission is. That's why they signed up. And typically, in my experience, the people that are the busiest get the most done. It's not the people that don't have anything happening. The reason they don't have anything happening, because they don't do anything. They don't get anything done. But people that are so busy that, you're like, I just don't know how in the world she gets it all done. But she does. That's the one you want committee. Those are the people that you want.
We started by don't deviate from the plan. And in typical fashion, no matter what we talk about, it's always about like this committee. Oh my goodness. It's like, we'll get a question about, hey, how do I get this committee on board? And it always comes back to that. It's so funny. So when we figure it out, we're trying to do the best we can, but when we get it all figured out, we're going to write a little book about it, and we'll give it away for free. That's what we do. Hey, I want to be polite with Lisa's time. I want to, last minute questions.
Yeah,
or
I've got a last question. I'm going to hit you with Lisa,
cool.
and then we're going to wrap it up, and we got to get you guys out of here, because we always get you out of here on time. So Ken said, how do you find companies that do a match? Always seems like I hear the big organizations say, send us X dollars and we'll match it and stuff like that. I'd like to just get your feedback on what you tell committees to go out about when you're doing that.
Yeah, so that's generally not a conversation we would send our committees out to have without us. That's definitely something we would come in and partner with them on that. And a match is an incredible way to use one person's or organization's donation to leverage more donations. So a lot of times we very, very rarely would go into someone pitching from square one to do a match. A lot of times it's being connected with a company that will share, like, yeah, I have $10,000 to give, or even a donor, an individual donor. I have $10,000 that I'd like to give. And if it's the right fit and we've kind of deemed that we want to use that as a match somehow, whether that be at an event or through like an email or mail campaign, we would go to that company and then say, like, I think we have a really great opportunity to maximize these dollars by challenging our supporters to donate and pose this as a match. So the way that we do it is we typically get a large donation in first, and then we will go to that company or that individual and have a conversation like, would you be interested in helping us maximize this support? We would love to send out an email to everyone in this area saying, GE is willing to match every dollar up to $10,000 if you will donate in the next 3 weeks or something like that. So the way that we've done it in the past is we have the full commitment regardless of how much we end up raising, and we just utilize that to maximize the impact. And it also gives the partner, if they are looking for some exposure and goodwill in the community, it gives us an opportunity to recognize them on a much bigger level. So it's also just being a good partner back to the people that support us.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Amen.
Love that. That's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
The leveraging. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Hey,
that was good.
I really appreciate, Lisa. Thank you so much. I got to draw a winner real quick because we got to let everybody get on their way. But before I do that, so don't go, because you don't want to be the one that won and then you didn't win, because I've got them all pulled up.
All right.
It really means a lot to us for you to come and spend the time with us today. Thank you for being so generous with all the information.
I hope everyone understands what you're just hearing. So
yeah, it's so good.
It'll live on forever on YouTube.
We're gonna
leave us some questions. So
we're gonna send out, when we send out the recording to you, which we will. We're gonna put Lisa's email on there, and that way, maybe if you think of a question that you'd like to ask her, please feel free to do that. And we appreciate Lisa making Yeah, we appreciate you making yourself available that way.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to do follow up on this with some coaching, you know, we do, there's no obligation. We do this absolutely for free. Jason at hjfundraising.com, Trevor at hjfundraising.com. You know, go to hjfundraising.com and just, you can sign up
Click
there
on the
and
free
send us an
coaching
email. In
button.
fact, it's
Yeah.
easier if you do it that way. You'll get
Do it that way.
faster.
Yeah.
But please, if you got anything good out of this, if this meant anything to you, it'd mean the world if you shared it with someone, with another fundraising professional. Just truly would. If you're watching this online, leave us a comment, share this with somebody else that ought to hear this, but stick to the plan, guys.
Yep.
And it'll all happen.
Yep.
Brian Hauk. Brian, congratulations.
Brian, what's up? Hey, Brian.
Yeah, you
Congrats, brother.
you won a
Brian's
trip.
done the
so
coaching. Brian's done the coaching before. I
yeah,
think.
he has.
Yeah.
He has. So congratulations. Thanks for being
HGA
here.
graduate, graduate of the HGA Academy.
Yeah. All right. Well,
now
listen,
you're a graduate of the MDA Academy as well. Thanks so much
For
for
sure.
sharing, Lisa. It means the world. Seriously. Thanks for spending so much time with us. And we'll
we
do it
appreciate
again.
you
Happy
so
to do it.
much.
All right.
Thank you
all right.
so much.
Enjoy your day. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
All right. See y'all next week. Bye now.